Cheers.
We're on YouTube. Hey, YouTube.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hey, everybody. My name's Dave. My friend down here is Tom. Together
Tom.
we are the BlabberMalt Show. This is episode 117, September 23rd, 2025. And we're super happy to be joined by John Lane at our hometown Winking Lizard in Avon. They're hosting us. We're going to be talking beer, brewing, and bullcrap.
Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for hosting us.
Yes.
Super excited. Been coming to the Winking Lizard forever.
Got the jackets to prove it.
Yes, we do. Oh, yeah, we're going to show these off later. They're old. The jackets are old like us. So if you guys don't know,
still good and classic, just like the Winking Lizard.
That's right. So we do a show live on. I almost said Facebook.
On YouTube.
We're just on YouTube tonight. Tomorrow we'll be up on Facebook and
Spotify
everywhere else.
and
Spotify. We are the BlabberMalt Show. 7 p.m. Tuesdays we do this show. At BlabberMalt, Instagram, Threads, X, all the other places. So find us. The Beacons link is in the description. You can find all our information, as well as our new merch shop. We just relaunched it, kind of a soft launch. We have some samples coming, but we got pullover hoodies, zip-up hoodies, pint glasses. We got can glasses, and most importantly, you know what I'm happy about? Stickers.
Stickers.
We have
I thought you were going to
stickers.
say most happy that there's a name on there that actually represents.
Oh, yes. We kicked that other guy to the curb, and not that we dislike him, but, we want to just accurately
Updated. It's updated.
update it to include Tom,
But
Dave and Tom.
Follow us, subscribe, like, do all that stuff, share.
Comment, share it. It lets the algorithm know that you like the show, and send it to a friend who you think would like some brewing news and some beer, brewing, and bullcrap.
And talking about social media, where can they find the Winking Lizard? Where are you guys at?
We're at winkinglizard.com, and we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And you guys
Cool.
always have the different locations, menus posted. I think there used to be pictures of the beer menu as well on there, so you can always see what's on draft and available. So always find all the stuff you need to know, and the specials, all the daily specials they got
You
going.
can sign up for the email blast. I still get it,
yeah.
so I always know what beer's coming in next month, what's coming in. And you got to get there quick because they run out.
Yes.
So, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk to John, get to know him a little bit, his role here at the Winking Lizard, and we're going to talk about all things Winking Lizard. I can't wait.
There's a deep-rooted history, man.
It sure is,
I was
man.
gonna say, just based on, we were talking a little bit earlier, next year coming up on the 40th anniversary.
That's right. That's right. I got my
Almost as old as me.
I know. I have the one tour jacket from 2006 was the 20th anniversary. And I thought that was old then. I had no idea.
And we've got 25th, 30th, and 35th, and might have to keep that 5-year streak going and maybe do the 40th.
You need the 40th jacket,
Yeah.
that's for sure. So John, let's talk to you a little bit about how you got interested and involved in craft beer, if you would.
Well, first of all, tell us what your role here is at the Winking Lizard.
Sure.
So, we wear a lot of hats. I like to say I'm a little guy from Ohio, but yeah, that's what we are. We're the same age as Buffalo Wild Wings, but they have about 1,500 locations, and we have 15. But we never wanted to be the biggest. We always just wanted to be the best, and that's what we concentrated on. I've been involved in the Winking Lizard since 1988, but my partner Jim Callum started it with his wife and his brother back in 1983, and I was in the Army. I flew helicopters, and I was actually a maintenance test pilot, and I loved it. And I married my wife right out of John Carroll. I moved her 7 times in 6 years. We were supposed to go to Germany. She said, I'm not going to Germany. So let's figure this out. We had 2 little boys. So here's the connection. Jim and I are brother-in-law. So we're married to sisters. Our wives there's 12 siblings, 9 girls, 3 boys. And I didn't know Jim very well, but I knew his wife, Maureen. And Maureen said, that's your guy to run the second Winking Lizard. So I left the Army and started the second Winking Lizard and we opened in 1989 in Twinsburg, Ohio.
Now, I'm going to say you shared something earlier with us from that second Winking Lizard that you opened up, a menu that one of your customers or friends gave to you.
Is this is this iconic or what? I mean, right off the bat, you see it's a St. Pauli girl menu, and Tom and I were talking about it earlier. It's hard to find St. Pauli girl, and here I am trying to open it. There we go. So there is the inside of the menu, and back then you had to drink 50 beers. Now you have to drink 100. So we're a little more challenging, right? But the highest priced beer on here is Bellevue Cherry for $3.50. Most of the beers were $2 and $2.50. So,
and I think we're noticing it says Twin City Tavern on there, which was for the Twinsburg one.
Yep.
Which was the second one. Which one was the first one? Was that Bedford?
The first one was in Bedford Heights, right. When Jim started, it was one little bar, and he was actually the cook, and his wife was the only server, and it's grown from there.
So that's what got you into the business.
Yes.
What got you into beer?
Okay.
You have to like beer to be running a Winking Lizard, I would assume.
And here's what's so funny. So I like to tell people that even in high school, when it used to be 18 in Pennsylvania to drink, it wasn't 21. Actually, it was 21, but Maryland was 18. So my senior year of high school, I used to drive across the border, pick up cases of beer, and a lot of imports like Molson Golden and Hofbrau. It was like hilarious. Bring it back across the border. So I like telling people, but I never drank light beer. Never liked light beer. So I got into the Winking Lizard in the business. I wasn't still a real true beer drinker. I drank a lot of vodka and tonics back in the day. But I was a history major at John Carroll, and I love European history. Visited Germany. My uncle was stationed there in 1974, the reason I went in the Army. But I loved the history, and I picked up a book by Michael Jackson, started reading, and all of a sudden the import Merchant de Vin came to me with the Sammy Smith beers and Orval and some of the Trappist breweries. And then Matthias Niehart from Be United started bringing his beer in. Small importer, he's based out of Connecticut. And I fell in love with beer because I learned flavor. We have flavor. There is a world after the yellow fizzy stuff. I shouldn't say that because it's still a big part of our business, but it is yellow fizzy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would think for anyone who's familiar with Winking Lizard realizes that, not to say it's what put you on the map, but the beer selection being outside of just the normal Miller Lights, which people drink that and like that, but having the vast number of different styles of beer is what draws, I think, most people. I mean, your food's fantastic as well, so don't get me wrong there, but the beer selection is something that is, I think, very iconic and synonymous to me with Winking Lizard, at least.
Yeah, I mean, if you're from this area and you're into craft beer, like, I was coming up early 90s, getting involved in home brewing. The Winking Lizard, I mean, if you didn't know of the Winking Lizard, I don't know really what you were doing, because, in 86, when they opened, I mean, it really took a beer, and elevated the beverage to something beyond a tailgate party, a keg party, and gave it respect, served it out of a clean beer line, clean tap, in the appropriate glass, put it on the table, and paired it with good food. Why would you do that when in 86, when you're opening a bar, just serve 5 domestics and have a cooler with a few dad beers and call it a day? I mean, why would you do that?
And if you think about it, I think what you were talking about earlier is that's really before the craft beer industry itself. I mean, we think about Great Lakes was just starting in the late 80s and here, and even the West Coast and the Sierra Nevadas and stuff. That's very beginning. So your beer selection was not necessarily craft, well, I shouldn't say American craft beers, as much as it was exposing people to good European beers. Is that a fair statement?
I call it craft import, the generational breweries. And I was blessed. Merchant of Inn, actually in the early 90s, invited me to go to Germany. And I said, okay. I always wanted to go back to Europe, and I went over there, and I went to a little brewery called Avon. If you notice, it's been on the tour for years and years and years. It's a world-class brewery owned by the Inselkammer family. They have a hotel there that's second to none. They have what would equate in the U.S. as a five-star restaurant there, and their beer is second to none. And I'm there, and it's their national sales meeting. They brought all their people over there. I walk in, I have my own room, and I'm like, what is this? Why am I here? And my rep at the time just started laughing. He goes, you don't know, do you? And I go, I have no idea. And he goes, you're our largest account in the United States.
Oh, wow.
I said,
What year was this?
This was probably in the mid-90s.
Wow.
And I said, what? And they said, yeah, you're our largest account. And I guess we're blessed because I learned so much from Europe. Proper glassware, how to serve the beer, putting a proper head on, which, by the way, still irks some people that we don't fill the beer all the way to the top. We try to explain to them why, but we try to do everything. I learned that beer culture that they had, we did not have here. And I said, can we bring it here? Because an educated consumer is a buying consumer. And you know what? Clevelanders grasped to it. And to this day, we have such a beautiful beer culture. We're over-indexed in the state, in the country on craft and imported beers. And we would kick the shit out of the big cities even then. Chicago, I'd go to Chicago and say, there's no real good beer bars here. It's all yellow beer, you know? But it's guys like you guys that gravitated to that, and we developed this culture here that, you know, it's stuck, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Are you knocking old style?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is true. When I was coming up, you could always be assured when you came here, you're going to get something good. You know, a lot of good European beers. When there weren't that many craft beer breweries in the Cleveland area, or really in the U.S. at all. I mean, I'm talking late 80s, early 90s. So you come to the Wizard.
And I would say even back then, I mean, you may have had some stuff rotating on, but even some of the staples you had were usually the good German-styled beers. So even if you didn't have 20 new beers every month, you had 5 or 10 of those that you didn't mind drinking again because they were good beers.
Well, I think that's key, right? We still have to run a business. And I think some of the things that have proven out is you just can't keep rotating because not everyone's a geek like us, right? They're not a geek. When they come into a Winking Lizard, they have their favorites, and they want to make sure that they're able to, I mean, let's face it, probably 80% of our customers drink the same thing every time they come in here. And I know that's an anathema to us because we want the next new thing, or we want to try this, we want to try that. But we still have to run a business, right? So, you know, a lot of times people will criticize the Winking Lizard because maybe we don't rotate enough. But again, we have to make sure that the base of the customer base that comes in here are getting their favorites of what they want. And it turns out a lot of that is core beer, right?
It's funny that
rotation.
It's funny that people would say the Winking Lizard doesn't rotate beers enough, because like back in the day, this is where you came to get new beers. You know, it's
Now, I mean, we'll talk maybe later, but I think it has changed. I mean, I'll give you my observation, opinion. I mean, it used to be that probably half your beers on tap were new every month.
Yep.
Now it's maybe 20%.
Yep.
And I'm going to guess, you know, between COVID and the changing market may have impacted that, but Dave, I mean, for our earlier days, absolutely. I mean, this used to be the place where, I joked about it. We drink 100 different unique beers in a year. Well, I did the math, had my spreadsheet, broke it down, how many per month I wanted to get.
Of course you did.
Want to be done by October, so I could go for the bonus to get the shirt and stuff. But then it's like, oh my God, I don't want to drink the same thing because I like different stuff. Well, guess what? It was no problem, the 3 tours that we did, finding 5 or 6 different beers for us to have, or 8 beers to have every month. It was different. I mean, it was nice. And yeah, my wife and I, we go out to bars and restaurants, and we're the oddballs. We go into some small family bars and stuff, and you see the people sit down, and before they even reach the seat, the beer is already on the counter. We may have been there a month ago. We sit down, and they look at us, say, "All right, do you want to look at the menu?" Because they know we want to see what's new. So they at least got used to us being we're the oddball.
I think the World Tour of Beers kind of was a predecessor for me for Untapped. You go to Untapped, you want to check in new stuff. Before that even existed, there was the World Tour of Beers.
Yes.
And when it started, we should just talk about the World Tour of Beers now. The first one was in
1986.
86.
Yep.
Which was the same year you opened?
No, we opened in 83.
83.
83,
So it's
okay.
3 years later, 1986. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, I wasn't around then. I didn't come here till 88. And it was a way it was a marketing thing, right? It was a way to move these off-the-wall beers at the time, off the wall.
Yugoslavia, Croatia, Japan. I mean, think about this. Back in 88, or whenever this might have been.
80s. This was 90, but this
90.
is probably a snapshot. What
Jamaica,
was available
France.
in 86.
I mean, you're talking beers that even today, some of these today you might not even be able to find.
Oh, a lot of them you can't find. Yeah,
They may still be around, but you can't find them.
I feel like the tour was just an excuse for John to bring all these beers in so he could try them. Like, well, we're going to have to move it somehow, so let's create this gimmick. I think that's.
Well,
is there any truth in that?
There's a little bit of truth to that. I developed such a passion. Again, learning from the craft import guys. In fact, in June we had 20 Belgian brewers here. Half of them are, 15 of them are generational, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th generation brewers here. These guys have, they talk about cycles. They know all about cycles, how beer goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And their equipment's been bought and paid for so many times that they just shut fermenters down, but they stay in business. So, when the craft phase came to the U.S., absolutely, people went away from the imports and they gravitated to American craft. But they're still around, and they're generational, and they'll be around. Different mindset, right? But to your point, yes, I still love all those craft import beers because that's where I cut my teeth.
Yep.
Where I cut my teeth.
Now, you guys have about how many beers usually on draft at any location? I mean, it varies on tap, but about.
Yeah, the most we have is 36. The least amount we have is 26. I like the number 33. So most of our stores, even when we plan a new location or it's 33.
Has that changed in your availability of getting kegged or draft beers versus bottle beers? Because obviously you guys have a huge bottle selection that rotates as well. But going back to the early days, I mean, was it easier to get draft versus bottles, or from some of the imports?
Well, no, because if you go to Belgium, it's not a draft beer culture in Belgium. Germany, yes. Great Britain, yes. Belgium, no. Belgium is bottle, and I think because Belgium was a poorer country, and so their draft systems stink. Their refrigeration stinks. And so
I thought it was for the yeast in the bottles, maybe.
yeah, well, the yeast in the bottles is cool, for sure. Uh, that's how they could age a lot of their beer. But you know, they weren't as maybe technologically as savvy. My guess is though, let's cut to the chase. I just think they weren't as a richer country, and so you know when you go there, every beer comes in its glass, and there's very few places in Belgium where I'll order draft beer. It's usually bottle beer in Belgium. Germany, different story. I'll order, you know, draft beer, but a lot less selection in Germany. You're drinking lager, you're drinking wheat beer. You go to Great Britain, you're drinking bitters. IPA is an American phenomenon, right? Yes, it was created in Great Britain, but it's an American phenomenon. So
Yeah, it's definitely a different beer than what we know as IPA over here. But I mean, what the Belgians give up in maybe consistency from batch to batch, I think they maybe gain in the artisanal quality and it's more like a wine, if you will. You know, batch to batch is a little bit different. Might be surprising year to year. What's your experience?
I think they're consistent in what they do. It might be a little bit different. The bottle conditioned beers are going to lend itself to different flavors, right? Orval. So it sounds morbid. It's my favorite beer in the world. My kids know that's supposed to be my last sip on earth is Orval. It sounds morbid as hell, but I'm going to put it out there. But you know, when you age that beer, absolutely, it's gonna take on different qualities. But when you go to some of those Trappist breweries, the technology that they have. In fact, I went to Rochefort, and Ken Grossman from Sierra Nevada had just been there, and they had a new doser where they were dosing, instead of dosing the whole batch, they were dosing each individual bottle with yeast and sugar to gain more consistency. And Ken Grossman had been there the week before to check out that technology. So I can't say that they're not ahead of the curve on a lot of things, but I will say that, you know, American breweries have certainly caught up and doing a lot of cool things.
So, John, you're obviously you were helped expand Winking Lizard from the beginning. So, from going from one to opening up the second location, and now there's 15, I think you said. And I think you mentioned, so you're co-owner currently. Are you also the curator of all the beers? Is that one of your roles? I know you said you wore many hats. You mentioned at the beginning, but is one of those doing the list of beers for all the locations, both draft and bottles?
Yes, it's my most important job. I'm the beverage guy, so I tell new managers when they come on board, I'm in charge of beer, spirits, wine, soda pop, coffee, and tea. All of it. Beer is my passion. I try everything. If it's a new brewery, people know suppliers when they come in, brewers when they come in with their wholesaler. They know if they're a new brewery, they got to bring me samples, and I try all of it because I need to make sure. In fact, I'll go back a few years. I asked this question when the craft beer movement was going so fast, and so many breweries were out there, and they were trying to get their beer out there. And there was a lot of bad beer out there. There still is, in my humble opinion. There's still a lot of bad beer out there. And I asked my customers, is it my job to curate it? Or is it my job to just throw it on the shelf and buyer beware? And to a T, when I asked my regular customers at the time, they said, no, your job is to curate. And the biggest compliment I've gotten from Eric Wallace, actually, from Left Hand, and I'm talking 20 years ago, he came in and we were talking about my beer list. And I said, what do you think? And he said, I could close my eyes go like this, and no matter what, that beer is going to be well made. And maybe it's not a style that I like, but it's going to be representative of that style. And so I've always taken that pride that when you guys come in, that's something on the list. It's always going to be well made, and it's going to be curated, and you're not going to be disappointed with it.
I mean, that's a wonderful compliment from a very good brewery in
And
Colorado there.
I would also say that when you come to the Winking Lizard, you get a beer, it's going to be fresh. It's not going to be, the beer is moving because people that like beer come in and they drink it, and it's not going to be, I mean, I've been to some bars and you get, I'm going to get this beer, and it's oxidized, it's halfway sour. I'm like, ooh, you guys got to take that off. And they look at me like, who the hell do you think you are? I'm like, I'm just telling you, this is bad. People are going to try this beer for the first time and never order it again anywhere because they have a bad beer. When you come here, the beer is fresh, and if it's not, it gets taken off. So the beer lines are clean.
Yes. And that's a big statement, beer lines. Let's talk about that for 1 minute.
Yes, let's do that.
Because when I started, most of the faucets were either copper or chromium alloy, and so they had brass in them. And I'm an old Army guy, right? So how do you clean brass? Do you guys know? How do you clean brass?
You got to polish it.
You polish it,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Brasso? Could you imagine trying to polish that? And what does Brasso taste like? So we were dispensing our beer through chromium alloy and copper or brass brass at the time. And I've shown back in the day, I was actually taught Great Lakes. Rob Garrity over there, and Rob Garrity has helped write the Craft Beer Brewer's Manual. He's right here in Rocky River. He brought me down to the brewery, and we tasted their Commodore Perry through a chromium alloy faucet versus a stainless steel faucet. And it was night and day. And at the time, we only had 3 or 4 Winking Lizards, and there was only one place in the country that was making stainless faucets. It was called Stainless One, and they were $120 a faucet.
Wow.
Back then, we went and changed every one of our faucets out at that time, which is a lot of money. And I remember we went all the way back, our keg engagements. The prongs in there were also chromium alloy or brass. We switched all those out to stainless steel. And because my goal, especially with draft beer, this product is supposed to be the freshest and the way the brewer intends you to drink it. There's no, it's not like packaged beer. It's supposed to be the freshest and the best tasting. And my goal has always been that when you guys come in and you try this, you can drink a lot of them without getting a headache. Well, you might get a headache if you drink too many of them, but you're not going to get a headache from drinking a couple of them because of bacteria and diacetyl and all these off flavors that can happen. So we take huge, great pride. We clean our lines on a regular basis. We take great pride in this being, in fact, Ken Grossman, I bring back to the story. He's in Columbus, and he's addressing the Wholesalers Association, and we did an event at one of our Columbus stores for him. He came, and he's drinking his Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and he said, this is probably the best Sierra Pale Ale I've had outside of Chico, the home of Sierra Nevada, which was the biggest compliment. And it's so funny, the regional sales rep at the time was from Philly. And he's like, oh, come on, Ken. Really, in Ohio, you're saying that? And I laugh. Again, we're a small market, but giving our guests what they deserve and how they deserve it and in the right way is what we take pride in.
So my mind's all over the place since you brought up Philly. Just has me thinking of Pliny the Elder which is only available in Russian River
Yes.
and in Philadelphia. When are you going to get that here?
Yeah. So, yeah.
You're working on it?
Yeah. Russian River. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. Wonderful brewery. Certain beers for certain times, and you can't. You can only push so many things. We have so many good beers here. We're blessed because we're in the middle. I like to tell people we get everything from the East Coast and we get so much from the West Coast. And if you think about it, if you go out to California, it's really hard to get a lot of good beers from the East Coast and vice versa.
Yeah.
We're in the Midwest. We're slower. It takes us longer to get it, but once we get it, it's a good market.
So you mentioned Columbus. So you guys do have a location in Columbus?
Yes.
Is that the furthest from the...
Yes.
So the mothership was Bedford, and it's still there, right? Bedford Heights?
Yep. We're East Side, West Side, Akron, Canton, and Columbus. But, we're built here. We're Cleveland based. This is where we're built. And this is where we want to continue to concentrate because we love this market. It's where we live. I wear this shirt proudly. I've never walked down the street and no one's ever come up to me and say that place sucks. Or they usually say, you know what? They either tell me, oh, we were there with a bunch of friends and the beer's so good, or we were with our family and your chicken wings are to die for, or we love your pizza, or we love
Ribs.
this, we love your ribs. So we're blessed.
Since you brought up wings, when you guys started, the wings weren't on the menu, I noticed. Ribs were not either. So when did the wings come on? And
Wings were around since 10-cent wing night. So wings were around in the beginning.
10-cent wing night.
Ribs didn't come on till later, till we learned how to smoke.
Yeah.
And I'm not the food guy, so we'd have to ask Jim exactly when those came on.
When I say underrated, your pizza is extremely
Well, that's
good.
true.
I
I
think
forgot
that
about
does
the
not get
pizza.
enough love.
Thank you. Yeah.
The
Again,
dough, everything, the sauce.
I go back to the 80% rule. It's so funny when I have so many of the beer reps that call on me, a lot of them live around here. I can go out to lunch with them and I will tell you what they will order. They're like, people are creatures of habit. They don't explore. And I'll tell them, well, this sandwich is pretty good, or this, you want to try it? Nah, I just like the buffalo chicken.
No, I'm gonna
sandwich.
get the garlic wings, dude.
Yes, that's what. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. And onion rings. Tom will say you always get onion rings.
Yeah, you're an onion ring guy, yeah.
So the World Tour of Beers, like when it started, you said it was 50 beers, advanced to 100 beers. It used to be you signed up at a store, you had to go there, or location. Then it went online and you had an app, and I don't even know where it went from there. Walk me through all those changes, and how is the tour doing now?
So we have about 3,000 members on the tour. That's been kind of where it's been the last 3 years or so.
How many of those finish?
About 60% finish,
60%.
which is pretty good.
That's a failing grade,
Yeah, it's a failing grade, but
as someone would say.
yes. But
1.25.
it's a big commitment for someone,
It
right?
is.
The tour has evolved over the years. I got to be honest, I liked it better in the olden days when it was 100 strict beers and there's 100 beers you had to drink, because I felt, again, that taught people about beer. They didn't get stuck on a style like, especially the IPA guys. I only drink IPAs. Dude, there's life after IPAs.
So I can tell you though, when we do the beer tour next year, it's going to be 100 unique beers. To me, that it doesn't count if you double up. I know you guys changed the rules a little bit. And,
Yep.
I think you're talking. It was an app. There was a while there where it was just you'd walk in and get the printout
Yes.
of the hard copies to know what you've already had, what you had, and check them off.
Which you could still get.
Yes,
You
well,
could still get the hard copy if you want, but we have an app. And
we did the year the guys first switched over. I think it was from one vendor to the other on the app, and it was a rough year.
Yeah, we've had rough years with technology. Hasn't always been our strongest suit, but the app works really pretty well right now. Um, but we modified the tour a couple of years ago where, you drink 25 distinct beers, then you can drink the same 25 distinct beers the next time.
Sacrilege.
I hear you.
I'm a purist. I agree with you.
You should not get a jacket for finishing that tour.
Yeah.
Maybe
Give you a t-shirt.
A t-shirt, yeah, that's about it.
Well, it's a marketing thing
I
now
know.
too, and it's like more of a loyalty program. And so we went from this is what you got as far as a jacket. Now you can get a $100 gift card instead of the jacket. So we have people that do that. And if you think about it, that's $1 off every beer. So some people, they like that.
Here's an idea. I think you have the tour, you do that, then you have the tour hardcore, and that's like the old way. You don't get an app, you get a hard copy, unique beers. Yeah.
I got to be honest. That's a great idea. That's a solid idea. Maybe we'll try
You get
that
an
and see how many
upgraded coat
people
or
do
something.
that.
And if you do that one, you get invited to the party for free versus having to pay.
Yeah, we could do that too. We could probably, and we're changing.
There'll only be 5 of us that did that.
yeah,
It's not
that's
that
the
expensive for
problem.
you.
Yeah,
The rest will pay.
and that changed this year too, right? So we're going back to parties either in the restaurant or close by. Like Avon's party is going to be over at Lakewood this year. We have some parties on the east side that are going to be at our event center, but we're not having just one big party downtown. The problem is a lot of people don't want to make that trek downtown, and so we catered to a smaller audience. That's A. B, try to find space downtown to do a party where we're allowed to do our own beer and food.
Yeah.
That's like, you can't, it's non-existent. So we've had to make that change. But I think it makes the hominess of where you sign up, which is an original thing as well. I'm hoping that brings people together that, you might
See someone you knew, yeah.
Exactly, or didn't know they were on the tour, or
Yeah.
you could talk, these are people that you could talk about the beer about, what you like, what you didn't like. So I'm hoping that brings back a different synergy.
I also like there's you do mini tours. You can do it in a week. You can do it in a weekend. Just drink a couple beers, get a shirt, get a glass. That's kind of fun too.
Yeah, and we invented that, the mini tour thing, and years ago, where we wanted to hyper focus on a brand or a brewery, and it allows that guest to try something that, again, they might not have tried it if it wasn't on the mini tour, or they weren't getting some kind of little prize, because everyone likes something for free, right? Or $1, I get a t-shirt for $1 if I drink these 5 beers.
And for those,
Kinda cool.
usually it's, I think, 4 or 5 beers. I know we just did the one recently for, I think it was for IPA Day. It was like 4 or 5 Fathead beers.
Yep.
I got my tie-dye t-shirt
Yep.
with Fatheads on the front, or Fatheads on the back and Weekend Lizard on the front.
Yeah.
So you guys do some Belgian stuff. Dave, you had mentioned earlier about signing up for the emails. I get my monthly newsletter. That's
Yep.
why I know it's on the tour and stuff, what the mini tours are. It's a great way to kind
Plus the
come out
food
and try
specials. There's always something seasonal coming on here.
Yeah.
And I think for the mini tours, you don't have to do it all in one sitting, right? It's just that month.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my favorite one is the one we do with Duval. So that's creating an art glass with our partners at the Cleveland Institute of Art, and we came up with that. And where we got the idea is Michelle Morcott probably has the largest Michelle Morcott, the fourth or fifth generation owner of Duval Morcott. He's got the largest modern art collection in Belgium. And he loves modern art, and he got these modern artists to create this glassware, which was so totally cool. And so my local is the patio out in Geauga County, and one of the owner's wife was an art instructor, and I posed the question to her, and we've been doing that, and it's been a program they've taken across the country, and that's so cool that we got a artist that can design something and gets international recognition for it.
Now, for those who may not be familiar, because I've got a couple of the glasses in my collection, so it'll be, a local. It could be delirium. You'll have the elephant on one side, and you'll have the winking lizard on the other side of the glass. So it's really something that truly a collector's item.
Yep. Yeah.
Very nice. Very neat.
So not that we're promoting alcoholism or anything like that, but who holds the record for finishing the tour the fastest?
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick story because I'm not allowed to answer that question. We used to put on here how many tours a person did, and our insurance company checked it out and gave us a call, and they said, that person really didn't drink that much beer in your establishment, didn't it? Oh, no, that's kind of a joke. We can't talk about that, but
Off camera, we'll talk about
I
it.
can tell you someone has done it, used to take off work, and was in a Winking Lizard 7 days a week. His wife would drop him off and pick him up when he couldn't drink anymore, and he did the 100 beers in 10 days. I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's a record.
That's impressive.
All right.
A man's worth will always be judged by how much alcohol he can drink. So I don't care.
All right, we're going to need to. We talked a little bit off camera about this. So the craft beer has changed, and your sales, not your sales, but your selection of stuff, and changing with the market. We talked about the fact you keep some staple stuff on for customers. I'm going to ask the question. COVID changed a lot of businesses and a lot of business models. I'm going to suspect some of it changed you. How much impact has been COVID versus just what we've seen in the craft beer market? Is it a combination of the two?
I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of things hitting the beverage industry, right? You've got two camps. You have one camp that says you shouldn't drink at all, right? Because it's unhealthy and a lot of cancer causing.
Call those people lame.
I mean, come on, this has been around since Sumerian days. I mean, it's all natural. Should we not drink too much? Absolutely. But you've got that. You've got THC coming down the pike. You have the younger generation that's, they definitely don't drink as much. I think that'll change over time, but right now they don't.
And when they do, they're drinking vodka.
They're drinking vodka. I like to say there's so much junk on the market right now. I call it junk. The aspartame beverages that we have that are supposed to be better for you because they're lower in calorie and whatever. I mean, I just think that we should drink in moderation and have a good time with it, and it's all natural, but it's a combination of all these. The pandemic, I mean, everyone goes to bed, they go home at 8:30 now, right? And they go to bed and they watch their favorite TV show. That's a byproduct of the pandemic. The whole selection of what beer was just crashed after that. Totally, the pandemic just crashed that whole every week is Christmas, which isn't a bad thing because that was not good for the beer category either.
Is the supply chain, though, back to normal?
The supply chain is back to normal. It's harder for the craft brewers to figure out what's there, but I think if they really looked at their data, they're going to see that, and I just looked at off-premise data here, it's core. That's what people are drinking. They're drinking the Dortmunders of the world. They're drinking, Fathead's Headhunter. They're drinking, Great Lakes Christmas Ale. They're drinking they're drinking what they know and what they trust. And I think that's a byproduct of the pandemic, the economy, if you want to call it, a lot of different things.
Well,
Yeah,
being spoiled by having a lot of good local beers too.
Yes. And
Yeah.
you have all these, exactly, all these tap rooms where, you know, if you really want something different every day, that's where they're getting it, right? These tap rooms. So the larger breweries that we're, you know, bringing in, the regional breweries, it's not so special anymore. People are going to their local haunts, their local microbreweries to get that fix. So,
Can we ask you this? Do you have a favorite local brewery that you could throw out there?
oh my God, no. You know what? There's so many that I think are making such great beer. Masthead, Fatheads, Great Lakes, Columbus, Rheingeist. I guess I could go on and on and on, but there's a lot of out in my neighborhood. Oh shit, Eighth Day is making really good beer.
Matt does some great beers. Yeah.
You know, he's making good beer. The other guy at the other end of the street's making good beer.
Crooked Pecker.
Crooked Pecker is making really, really good beer. So you have that small scale, and then you have some of the bigger scales. Yeah.
So, you know, we talked about the tour changing a little bit in the last few years. Is there anything else that Winking Lizard is doing to kind of change with the market and stay relevant? I mean, again, I don't think you've become irrelevant, but to still be talked about, to still be the place to go.
I think if we keep the fun with all the events we do and the mini tours and the, you know, changing up the selection, again, I can be, you know, I've been accused of being slow sometimes in, you know, getting behind something. But again, I think I want to make sure that my customer base can follow. And so there's always change, but not maybe as much change as some people want. And to me, that's okay. Again, I go back to, we have to run a business, right? And so we got to give our customer too what they want to drink every time they come in, because you know, we're running a business.
Well, there's something to be said for, you know, sticking to tradition and serving your customer base, the loyal customer base. I get that.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you should think about the hardcore tour, though. I mean,
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
yeah.
A mini Max tour.
2 tiers, yeah, 2 tiers. Yeah.
All right. We're on our way to the boil here.
Yeah, let's do it. We got, I mean, the only thing going on in the homebrew world for me is that coconut cream ale is, the coconut's been on it 3 days. So probably Wednesday I'll package it and condition it.
So we'll have it for the show next
week's show. We should have it.
week's
Yeah.
show, where we have some folks from Brew Kettle, actually, and the 2 brewers
Yes,
from Brew Kettle will be
it'll
in.
be fun. Should be fun.
Get to taste your beer.
Jack
Yeah.
will be in.
No, we're having Kara and Sarah.
Kara and Sarah. Yeah, talking about their experience together
in the brewery
working for the Brew
industry
Kettle.
as well as the Brew Kettle. Yeah.
Yeah, gonna be fun. Let's see. Today is Ohio Pint Day. Oh my God, I didn't even wish you guys Ohio Pint Day. Happy Ohio Pint Day.
All we need is Ohio pint glass.
Yeah, you see those glasses?
Yes,
Those
they're very
glasses
nice.
look awesome. Last thing I need is another pint glass, but
I know,
those look
the-
pretty cool.
The artwork looks very nice.
Yeah, ours awesome. What's the Lizard got coming up, event-wise?
So October is, we've got the Duvel glass. So you drink 3 Duvels and you get that special glass. And I can tell you, they're special because I went to Belgium 2 years ago, and I met up with a guy in Ghent who started a Duvel glass collection. He lives right across the border in Netherlands, and they have the biggest club there. The old glass, the first Duvel glass that had the Winking Lizard bar scene around it, is so wanted because there were only 3,000 made. They have gone on eBay for up to $1,500 for one glass. So these Duval glasses are collector's items, so we're real excited again to roll out another one in October.
All right, I might have to have a few
Yeah, we
more
got to
beers
do
than I
that
wanted to
October.
today.
Yeah.
All right.
So a couple events going on. I saw that Bascule announced that they're going to be closing, which is super sad. You know, a local brewery for us. And Royal Docks. I saw that they're finally going to be
last
closing
location,
their
yeah.
the last location is closing their doors. I want to see more brewery openings than closings coming up. I mean, it's making me sad.
We'll have to look around because I it may not be 1-to-1, but it might be a 2-to-1. I think for every 2 breweries that close, there's one opening up. So
Yeah.
There's still the craft beer industry going on in Ohio.
Yeah. We got out Friday to support some local breweries, check them off the passport.
Right, passport,
We got
all
about
right.
5 breweries done. I got another one done Sunday night. We were down at a concert and hit up Jolly Scholar, so we got that checked
You
off.
celebrated a birthday of someone too, didn't you?
Yeah, my wife. She turned, I'm not telling you. I'm not throwing a number out there.
Wise man.
Yes. Not announcing
39
that.
again?
I know. It's hard to believe. So, hey, John, we want to thank you for hosting us. It's been great. We're going to stick around, get some wings. I'm going to get some garlic wings and some onion rings. Don't judge me, Tom. It's the same thing I always get.
And John, that'll be the homie thing of, thank you guys for staying in Avon as well. So the place at the Miller restaurant was really iconic, neat patio. Whatever reason you think you moved, but you stayed in the city of Avon, which hopefully has been loyal back to you guys as well.
I got to be honest, we're more Avon than we were before. We're partially Westlake there. We're more Avon now. And you know what? It was a great move. Business is
Good.
a lot better here, for sure.
Well, and
It's a
we
lot
appreciate-
closer for
yeah,
us.
we appreciate it. It's great for us. Again, you guys put a great thing together between the food, the beer selection, the atmosphere. You guys probably the TVs can see it is kind of a sports bar. Your TVs are on all over the place, but you can still have a phenomenal selection of beers, both drafts and bottles and cans.
Thanks so much.
Yes, indeed. Yes. So we mentioned Kara and Sarah next weekend coming up on the show, going to be in studio. That should be pretty fun. Following week, the 7th, we're going to be off. The 14th, we're having our pumpkin beer event in the studio. So if you guys want to come to the show, just make a comment on this video or email us at blabbermalt@gmail.com. We got a lot of spaces filled up, but
And
we'll
if
put
any
the
breweries
annex.
want to donate any beers for the event as well, let us know. We can work something out.
Yeah, 11-3 commented, yes, we're definitely interested in that beer.
And
if it's
we're
packaged up, we'll contact
coming
you.
back from our little getaway this weekend, stopped at Findlay Brewing,
Did you?
and
Nice.
they had a pumpkin-ish beer that we did not try, but we brought in cans for the 14th. So we'll
Excellent. Good.
starting to collect.
So the 21st, October, I don't know.
We got some word out. I got some.
Just haven't.
We haven't
Nailed
nailed
anything
anything down
down
yet.
yet,
We got
so.
a couple things in the fire right now.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah, like I said, blabbermalt@gmail.com. Hit us up. We made any mistakes. Let John know, if you want the hardcore tour to happen. The 100 beers, different beers, no exceptions.
so even though we're live on YouTube right now, they will be able to find us on Facebook still tomorrow.
Yep,
Or
be up on Facebook and
Spotify.
Spotify and anywhere you can get audio podcasts, that'll be up there as well.
and John again, Winking Lizard. You guys are on.
WinkedLizard.com. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So thanks for having me, guys. A lot of fun.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for having
hosting
us. It's been a great
And
time.
Very great. So everyone out there, cheers, and of course,
Stay malty, Cleveland.